In the last episode, we met Anos Voldigoad, the true reincarnation of the Demon King of Tyranny, who now attends a magic academy run by his subordinates 2,000 years later. He befriends Misha and Sasha Necron, two souls born from one mage, and also discovers that someone is plotting to impersonate him and usurp his title as the Demon King. In his previous reincarnation as the Demon King, Anos and his right-hand man Shin Reglia fight the great water spirit Lignon. Anos promises Shin any reward he wishes if he can defeat Lignon in a single blow, which Shin fulfills. After defeating the great water spirit, Shin asks Anos for permission to reincarnate so that in their next life, Shin can continue to serve him as his right-hand man. In the present, Emilia announces a transfer student transferring into their academy who is both a renowned sword prodigy and a royal. In addition, Emilia announces that the scepter Anos' team recovered has been stolen and their team will be penalized as a result. Misa Iliragu attempts to defend their team, who she believes is being treated unfairly by the class because they have demon hybrids, but is shot down by the professor. Meanwhile, Anos calmly takes back the scepter from another student in the class and hands it back to the professor. He mocks at her poor attempt to sabotage his team. After class, Misa meets with Anos and the rest of the team. She describes the goals of the Unitarian movement, a movement to create a fair society that will treat hybrids the same as purebloods. She also states that the Unitarian movement believes that Anos really is the true reincarnation of the Demon King. They meet a bunch of Unitarians and they find that they are all fangirls of Anos. Misa shows them her sword, a gift from her pure-blooded father for her 10th birthday. She believes that there exists a second half to the sword, and that it represents the abilities for hybrids and purebloods to one day unite. The fan club asks if they can join Anos, and he agrees, as long as they can prove themselves. At the demon sword lessons, the students find that the demon sword's difficult to pick up and wield. However, simply by talking, Anos is able to summon a sword to him. The transfer student, Lei Glanzuli, arrives and can also pick up one of the swords. Two of the 7 demon elders, Gaios Anzum and Yidol Anzio, confront him, but Lei uses his sword skills and defeats them. Lei asks Anos if he can join his team, and the professor Emilia is shocked. However, Anos refuses. He states that to prove themselves, Lei, Misa, and the fan club must form a team and impress Anos in the next team competition. The competition starts, and Anos separates with his team. The Unitarians create a stone golem using the creation spell Gwyneth. However, they are damaged by Misha and Sasha after the sisters create a hellfire mortar and bombard the golem. Meanwhile, Anos and Lei duel, with Anos using a random stick he found. They enjoy the duel, as Lei holds his ground against Anos. Sasha is suddenly ambushed by Misha with her magic sword, and the two sisters must fight back to back against Misa and the Unitarians. However, the pair are able to fuse their magic and defeat their opponents. Lei continues to impress Anos with his sword skills, but is ultimately defeated. Anos muses that Lei's looks and fighting skill remind him of someone 2,000 years before. Though both Lei and Misa were defeated, they impressed Anos enough and he allowed them to join his team. At dinner, he mentions that Misa's magic resembles the magic of the great water spirit Lignon, who he fought in the past. That night, Misa and Lei talk about their performance in the competition. Misa reveals she is half spirit and half demon, and Lei points out that spirit-demon hybrids often have short lifespans. At class, Emilia announces a magic sword tournament and that Lei and Anos have been chosen to participate. Anos wonders if there is an ulterior motive, as the true-blooded royalty would never want a hybrid like Anos to win in such a tournament. Anos also meets Malhais Boran, another of the 7 elder demon emperors, who is convinced that Anos is the true reincarnation of the Demon King. Malhais describes that after Anos was killed 2,000 years ago, that he woke up without his memories, and suspects he must have been attacked, but was able to escape at the cost of his memories. He then crosses into the Great Spirit Forest, bypassing the wall, but finds upon returning to the demon realm 100 years later, Anos' name has been replaced with Avos de Hevia. Malhais, who supports the Unitarians, urges Anos to support the Unitarian effort. The next day, as a reward for Misha making his favorite food, Anos takes Misha into the city for a trip. They see magic models, and Anos creates a tiny town, putting it on a ring for Misha. They go to a cat cafe, where they meet with a disguised Ivis. Ivis had been spying for Anos, and reveals that someone is manipulating Malhais, and that an unknown party controls the Unitarian movement. At the tournament, Ivis meets up with Anos again, and states that the Demon Emperors Gaios and Yidor seem to be behind choosing Anos for the tournament, likely as a way to trap him. Anos decides to forfeit the tournament to try to draw out the imposter Avos. However, when Anos starts to forfeit the match, many purebloods start to make fun of him. Anos' mother defends him, and his father arrives with the demon sword he forged himself. Touched, he decides to spring the trap and compete anyway to make his parents happy. Anos' first match is against Kurt Lodwell, Emilia's older brother, and Anos promises he will defeat Kurt in exactly 1 minute. As the Unitarians cheer from the sidelines, Anos allows Kurt to attack him, but easily defeats him after a minute passes. After the match, Lay confronts Anos, revealing that he works for the Royalist purebloods, and he threatens to kill Anos. Anos reveals, however, that Lay might be a hostage to a contractual demon sword, and that the Royalists are holding him hostage over his sick mother. That night, after Anos wins his matches to progress to the finals, he hands off his demon sword to his mother and the fan club to visit Sheila Gransley, Lay's adoptive mother, who is sick. Sheila reveals that Lay is being controlled by the Royalists, and in return, the Royalists treat her spirit disease, a new disease from being half spirit, half demon. Sheila asks that Anos free Lay from the Royalists, even if it costs her life. Since Misa is also half spirit, Anos attempts to create a new spell to connect their magic to try to heal Sheila. Meanwhile, angry over her brother's loss to Anos, Emilia arrives to take Anos' sword from his mother. The fan club repeatedly defend Anos' mother, but the professor proves too powerful as she professes her hatred of hybrids. They buy enough time for Anos to arrive, who uses compulsion magic to stop Emilia and healing magic to heal his mother and the fan club. He thanks them for defending his mother. Anos stabs Emilia and promises to heal her if she acknowledges him as the true Demon King and begs for her life. He kills her and then resurrects her, but places a curse on her that whenever she dies, she will always be resurrected as a hybrid and never a pureblood. Lay discovers Misa healing his mother and lets her rest. He remembers being abandoned by his real parents and then being taken in by Sheila at a young age. The duel starts, and the organizers have laid a trap, placing a magic drainer on Anos to make Lay's fight easier. However, Lay announces that he will fight fairly, even if he will die in the process. The two duel, but soon Anos defeats Lay at the cost of his arm. However, Malhais, the true mastermind of the tournament, teleports Anos into a dimensional prison and confronts the Demon King. Malhais determines this is the best opportunity to defeat Anos, who lacks an arm and is weakened by the magic drainer. Malhais summons Gaios and Yidol, but they are defeated by Lay as he reappears in the prison. Instead of killing him, Anos had targeted Malhais' contract, which has freed Lay from the Royalists. Malhais reveals he has Sheila held hostage in another dimensional prison, and Lay leaves to save her. Malhais seals himself off into his own dimension and attacks both Anos and Lay at once, forcing Anos to use his magic in multiple dimensions to defend them. Anos uses some of his last magic power to form a sword for Lay, but Malhais' wall magic proves to be too powerful. Sheila sacrifices herself and uses her remaining magical power to form a spirit sword for Lay, who uses it to fight against Malhais' magic and scratch Malhais' cheek at the cost of Sheila's life. Anos confronts Malhais in his dimensional prison, using the cheek scratch to track down the Demon Emperor. Anos reveals that although recently reincarnated demons usually can only use 1/10 of their original power, struggling against Malhais has caused Anos to recover his original magic source, and he has become stronger. Anos summons Venus de Noah and defeats Malhais, simultaneously freeing the Demon Emperor from his brainwashing. Malhais apologizes to Anos, and the two prepare to resurrect Gaios and Yidol to interrogate them, but are interfered by a masked figure who retreats. As the dimensional prison falls, they all return to the real world, where Anos heals Lay and resurrects Sheila. Anos reveals that Sheila can be resurrected now, as the source of her magic is now tied to the legend of a sword that helped to defeat the Elder Demon Emperor Malhais, and this legend allows Sheila's true form to be a sword and for her magic to heal. As is custom for the tournament, Sasha representing the Necron family arrives to give Anos a commemorative sword. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.